The crystal chambers of Assembly Station Omega gleamed under artificial starlight as Ambassador Hyunwoo sat in the designated human section, listening to another lecture about his species' failures. The Galactic Assembly had called this emergency session to discuss the human problem again, something they seemed to do every few months since Earth joined their organization 20 years ago. The speaker was Counselor Vex Nash, a tall reptilian creature from the Vextar Confederacy. His scaled skin reflected the chamber lights as he gestured with 4 arms toward a holographic display showing human military statistics. The display made Earth look like a war-hungry planet covered in weapons and soldiers preparing for conquest. Humans continue to maintain excessive military forces. Vex Nash declared, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. Despite repeated assembly guidance to reduce their aggressive tendencies, they refuse to limit their defensive capabilities. This behavior threatens galactic peace and stability. Hyunwoo had heard this speech dozens of times before. The aliens could not understand that humans maintained strong militaries because they had learned hard lessons about being unprepared for conflict. Earth history was full of examples showing what happened to peaceful societies when aggressive neighbors decided to expand their territory. The real issue was not human military strength. The assembly members were uncomfortable with any species that refused to follow their guidance without question. For 20 years, they had treated humanity like children who needed constant supervision and correction. Every human decision was questioned. Every human innovation was restricted. Every human success was dismissed. As luck or accident, Ambassador Krell from the Zenthari Empire stood to address the chamber. His 4 eyes focused on different parts of the room as he spoke, creating an unsettling effect that made many species nervous. The Zenthari had been assembly members for over 8,000 years and considered themselves experts on galactic civilization. The human species shows promising development in some areas, Krell admitted grudgingly, but they lack the wisdom that comes with age and experience. Their tendency toward independent action creates instability in established systems. They require continued guidance to reach proper civilized behavior. The words stung because Hyunwoo knew they reflected how most assembly members viewed humanity. Earth had contributed incredible innovations to galactic society. Human engineers had solved problems that had puzzled alien scientists for centuries. Human diplomats had negotiated peace treaties between species that had been fighting for millennia. Human researchers had made breakthrough discoveries that advanced galactic knowledge. None of that mattered to the assembly. What mattered was that humans asked too many questions, challenged too many assumptions, and refused to simply accept alien authority without explanation. The assembly preferred species that followed orders without thinking, species that accepted their place in the galactic hierarchy. The breaking point came when Counselor Zethmar from the Silneth Republic presented the final agenda item. The assembly had voted on a proposal that would relocate 50 million humans from coastal cities on Earth to make room for a Zelthan mining operation. The Zelthans needed rare minerals that could only be found under Earth's ocean floors. The proposal had been presented as a great honor for humanity. The Zelthans were an ancient and respected species, and their mining operation would bring advanced technology to Earth. In exchange, humans would simply need to move inland and allow the aliens to extract what they needed from the ocean floor. Hyunwoo stood to address the chamber, knowing his words would carry little weight, but feeling obligated to speak for his people. The assembly proposal asks humanity to relocate 50 million citizens from their ancestral homes to accommodate an alien mining operation. This displacement would destroy human communities that have existed for thousands of years. The ambassador paused, looking around the chamber at hundreds of alien faces showing various degrees of boredom, annoyance, and condescension. Most assembly members had already decided how to vote before the session began. Human opinions were heard as a matter of procedure. Nothing more. Earth respectfully requests that the assembly consider alternative locations for the Zelthan mining operation. Hyunwoo continued, "Our planet has many resources to offer, but forcing mass human relocation seems excessive when other solutions might be possible." Counselor Vex Nash interrupted with a dismissive gesture. "The assembly has already determined that Earth ocean floors contain the highest concentration of required minerals. Alternative locations would be less efficient and more costly. Humans should feel honored to make this sacrifice for the greater galactic good. The vote was called immediately, despite Hyunwoo attempts to request more discussion time. The result was devastating. 847 votes in favor, 1 vote against. Only Earth had opposed the measure that would displace millions of human beings from their homes. Hyunwoo sat back down, feeling the weight of failure on his shoulders. 20 years of diplomacy, 20 years of trying to prove human worth, 20 years of accepting insults and condescension had led to this moment. The assembly saw humans as resources to be managed, not as equals to be respected. The transmission reached Earth 6 hours later. Admiral Ji-hoon received the coded message in the underground military command center beneath Seoul. His weathered face showed no emotion as he read the assembly demands, but his hands clenched into fists as he processed the implications. The admiral had served in the Korean military for 30 years before joining the Unified Earth Defense Force. He had seen humanity rise from a divided planet to a spacefaring civilization. He had watched humans adapt to galactic society with remarkable speed and flexibility, but he had also seen how the aliens treated his species. Ji-hoon immediately contacted President Da-yoon, requesting an emergency cabinet meeting. The president had been expecting this call for months. The assembly demands had been growing more unreasonable with each passing year, and everyone in Earth government knew that eventually a line would be crossed. President Da-yoon stood in the emergency meeting room looking out at Seoul, sprawling cityscape below. 20 years of alien contact had transformed human civilization, but at what cost? Humans had gained access to advanced technology and galactic knowledge, but they had also lost their independence. The cabinet members filed into the room one by one. Defense Minister Tae-ho carried a thick folder containing military assessments. Science advisor Dr. So-young brought data tablets showing human technological capabilities. Foreign Minister Bae-won carried the latest diplomatic reports from Assembly Station Omega. They want us to surrender our sovereignty completely. President Daeun announced without preamble. 50 million people displaced because aliens want easier access to our resources. They are treating us like children who cannot make decisions about our own planet. Defense Minister Tae-ho opened his folder and spread papers across the conference table. The military assessments showed Earth defensive capabilities, human fleet strength, and potential alien responses to various scenarios. The numbers were sobering, but not hopeless. We have been preparing for this possibility, Admiral Ji-hoon said quietly. For 5 years, we have been developing contingency plans assuming that assembly membership might become incompatible with human independence. The time has come to implement those plans. Dr. So-young activated her data tablet showing technical specifications for projects that most assembly members did not know existed. While aliens had shared their technology reluctantly and in small doses, humans had been reverse engineering everything with typical human ingenuity and creativity. More importantly, they had been developing capabilities that the galaxy had never seen before. Dr. So-young called it the Silence Protocol, a way to make Earth completely invisible to all known forms of galactic detection. The project had been classified at the highest levels with only a few dozen people knowing its true purpose. President Da-eun looked around the table at the faces of people who had dedicated their lives to serving humanity. Each person in the room understood the magnitude of what they were considering. Earth would be withdrawing from the Galactic Assembly and declaring independence from alien oversight. The decision was unanimous, but the weight of it was enormous. Earth would be facing the entire galaxy alone, risking everything on the belief that humanity could survive and thrive without alien guidance. It was the biggest gamble in human history. It is time we reminded the galaxy why they found us dangerous in the first place. President Da-yoon declared. The meeting ended with a single order that would change the course of galactic civilization forever. Earth was going to cut ties with the Assembly and forge its own path among the stars. The galaxy continued its normal routine while Earth quietly began the most secret operation in human history. Commander Minho stood in the hidden command center deep beneath Seoul, watching hundreds of screens showing human locations across the stars. His job was simple but dangerous. He had to bring every single human back to Earth without the aliens noticing anything strange. Minho pressed a button and spoke into his communication device. The message went out to human workers on mining stations around distant suns, to human scientists studying alien plants on faraway worlds, to human diplomats living in alien cities. The message was coded, but clear. Come home now. Make it look normal. Tell no one the real reason. Captain Yonsu received the message while working on a Zelton construction project 300 light-years from Earth. She had been building bridges for the tall blue aliens for 2 years. The aliens treated her like a useful tool, nothing more. She told her Zelton supervisor that her contract was ending, and she needed to return to Earth for family reasons. The alien barely looked up from his planning device as he approved her departure. Across the galaxy, thousands of humans began making similar excuses: family emergencies, medical checkups, contract renewals, training programs. The aliens who employed them showed little interest in human personal lives. This indifference became humanity's greatest advantage. The withdrawal was happening right under alien noses, and they noticed nothing. Dr. So Young worked 20 hours each day in her secret laboratory beneath the Pacific Ocean. The lab was built inside an underwater mountain that had been hollowed out over 5 years. No alien sensors could detect it. Even most humans did not know it existed. Inside this hidden facility, So Young was creating something that would change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The project was called the Silence Protocol. For years, while aliens had shared their technology in tiny amounts, humans had been studying everything with incredible focus. Human scientists had learned to take apart alien devices and understand how they worked. More importantly, they had learned to make them work better. So Young looked at the massive machine that filled most of her laboratory. The device used principles from 12 different alien technologies, but combined them in ways no alien had ever imagined. The machine could bend space and time around entire star systems, making them invisible to any known form of detection. The aliens had the knowledge to build such a device, but they never thought to combine their technologies in creative ways. Humans did. Testing the device required extreme secrecy. So Young used small versions to hide single ships, then larger versions to hide entire space stations. Each test worked perfectly. The hidden objects became completely undetectable to alien sensors. Even when alien ships flew directly through the hidden areas, they found nothing. The technology was ready for its ultimate test. Captain Dongmin led the most dangerous part of the secret operation. His teams had to steal back human technology from alien facilities without being caught. Every piece of equipment that humans had built or improved over the past 20 years had to be recovered. The aliens could not be allowed to keep any examples of human engineering. Dongmin and his team moved through the night on the alien world of Keck 7. They wore suits that made them invisible to most alien senses. The facility they approached contained human-built computer systems that managed the planet's power grid. The systems were more efficient than anything the Keck 7 aliens could build themselves, but they never bothered to understand how the human improvements worked. Inside the facility, Dongmin carefully removed the human components and replaced them with standard alien equipment. The aliens would never notice the change until their systems started failing. By then, it would be too late. His team completed similar operations on 47 different worlds, stealing back decades of human innovation without leaving a trace. Earth massive construction projects began under the cover of normal infrastructure development. Admiral Ji Hoon supervised the building of weapon systems disguised as water treatment plants and communication towers. The weapons combined human, military thinking with carefully adapted alien technology. Unlike aliens who fought according to ancient honor codes, humans prepared for total war. The alien approach to conflict was predictable. They announced their intentions, gave their enemies time to prepare, and fought according to rules that limited casualties. Human military doctrine was different. Humans, struck without warning, hit multiple targets simultaneously and used every advantage available. The aliens were about to learn why they had originally found humans so dangerous. President Da-un spoke to selected groups of humans around the world, explaining the plan in secret meetings. The response was always the same: excitement, relief, determination. Humanity had grown tired of being treated as children. They were ready to prove their worth even if it meant facing the entire galaxy alone. In hidden facilities around Earth, human engineers worked to upgrade every piece of technology they possessed. Alien devices were improved beyond their original specifications. Human inventions were enhanced with alien knowledge. The result was technology that surpassed anything else in the galaxy. The species that aliens considered primitive was preparing to shock the universe. The preparation phase took 6 months. 6 months of careful planning, secret construction, and quiet withdrawal. The aliens noticed nothing. Their arrogance blinded them to what was happening right in front of them. They continued to treat humans as inferior beings who needed guidance and control. Soon they would discover their mistake. As the final preparations were completed, Earth stood ready for its greatest gamble. Every human was back home. Every piece of human technology was secured. The Silence Protocol was ready to hide their entire solar system. The weapons were prepared. The plan was set. In just a few days, the galaxy would wake up to find that Earth had vanished, and with it, everything the aliens had taken for granted. The countdown to separation began, and humanity held its breath, waiting to see if their impossible plan would succeed. The morning started like any other day in the galaxy. Trade ships prepared to visit Earth for their regular exchanges. Alien merchants loaded their cargo holds with goods they planned to sell to humans. Scientists from 12 different species prepared to continue their research projects on the blue planet. Nobody suspected that this would be the day everything changed. Captain Zelkar of the Vorthak trading vessel approached Earth's solar system as he had done hundreds of times before. His ship carried rare metals that humans always wanted in exchange for the clever devices that only humans seemed able to create. The trade had been profitable for both sides for many years. Zelkar expected another routine transaction. Instead, his ship's sensors showed empty space where Earth should have been. Zelkar stared at his instruments in confusion. The third planet from the sun was simply gone. No debris field, no energy signatures, no trace that anything had ever existed there. His navigator ran the sensors 3 times, checking for equipment failure, but the results remained the same. Earth had vanished along with its moon and everything else in the area. The Vorthak captain immediately sent an emergency message to the nearest assembly station. His voice shook as he reported the impossible. The entire human solar system had disappeared without explanation. Other ships in the area confirmed his report. Each captain sounded more frightened than the last. Ambassador Krell of the Zenthari Empire was attending a routine assembly meeting when the emergency alerts began flooding the communication systems. His forearms gestured wildly as he read report after report from across the galaxy. Every single human world had vanished simultaneously. Mining colonies, research stations, trading posts, all gone. The great assembly hall erupted in chaos. Representatives from hundreds of species shouted questions and demands in dozens of languages. The translator system struggled to keep up with the flood of panicked voices. Nobody had ever seen anything like this in the recorded history of galactic civilization. Krell stood and activated the emergency speaker system. His voice boomed across the hall, demanding attention. The hall slowly quieted as the assembled representatives realized the magnitude of what was happening. The human homeworld is gone. Krell announced, his multiple eyes wide with disbelief. Our long-range sensors detect nothing where their solar system should exist. It is as if they never existed at all. The implications hit the assembled aliens like a physical blow. If humans could make entire star systems disappear, what other capabilities did they possess? How had the species they considered primitive managed to accomplish something beyond the understanding of civilizations that had mastered space travel for millions of years? Dr. Velshaw, the assembly's most brilliant scientist, rushed to the Emergency Science Center. She had studied physics for 3 centuries and held advanced degrees from 17 different worlds. She had never encountered anything that challenged her understanding of the universe as much as this moment, working with a team of the galaxy's greatest minds. Dr. Velshaw ran every test known to galactic science. They searched for gravitational anomalies, energy signatures, subspace distortions, anything that might explain what had happened to the humans. The results were always the same. Nothing. There is no debris field. Dr. Velshaw reported to the emergency assembly session, her voice barely above a whisper. No energy signature indicating destruction. No gravitational disturbance suggesting the planets were moved elsewhere. According to our instruments, the human solar system simply ceased to exist. Fear in the room was thick enough to cut species that had dominated the galaxy for eons, suddenly felt small and vulnerable. If the humans could vanish at will, what prevented them from making other worlds disappear? The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in ways nobody understood. On the hidden Earth, President Dayun watched the galactic communications with deep satisfaction. Dr. So Young's silence protocol worked even better than they had hoped. The massive device bent space and time around, their entire solar system creating a pocket of reality that was invisible to all known forms of detection. The aliens who had spent 20 years treating humans like children were now discovering what human ingenuity could accomplish when properly motivated. Their fear and confusion were exactly what Daun had hoped to achieve. The first phase of Earth's independence was complete. Admiral Ji-hoon monitored alien military movements from the secret command center. Every major alien fleet was mobilizing, searching desperately for any trace of humanity. The aliens were scared and desperate people, which made them dangerous, but also predictable. Dr. So Young made final adjustments to the silence protocol, ensuring their solar system remained completely hidden. She smiled as she watched alien ships pass directly through the space where Earth should be. The aliens were so close they could have touched Earth's atmosphere, but the bent space made them unable to detect anything. Meanwhile, Captain Dongmin prepared the next phase of their plan. His stealth ships were positioned near major alien worlds, ready to decloak when the time was right. The aliens were about to learn that disappearing was only the beginning of what humans could do. Galaxy continued its frantic search for 3 days and nights. Alien scientists worked around the clock trying to understand what had happened. Governments called emergency sessions. Military fleets scoured empty space looking for any sign of the vanished humans. Fear spread through civilizations that had never known uncertainty. What the aliens did not realize was that their troubles were just beginning. The disappearance of humanity would soon reveal how dependent the galaxy had become on human innovation and problem-solving abilities. Systems would start failing. Trade routes would collapse. Conflicts would erupt without human mediators to maintain peace. President Daeun prepared for the next phase of their plan. The galaxy needed to understand that humans were not primitive beings who required guidance and control. They were equals who demanded respect and fair treatment. The lesson was about to begin, and it would reshape galactic civilization forever. The vanishing act was complete. Earth had successfully hidden itself from the most advanced civilizations in the universe. Now came the hard part, showing the galaxy what they had lost and what they would need to do to get it back. 3 months passed while the galaxy searched desperately for any trace of humanity. The great civilizations that had ruled the stars for millions of years found themselves facing problems they had never imagined. Their advanced technology could not locate a single human world. Their vast fleets could not find even one missing colony ship. The species they had dismissed as primitive had accomplished the impossible. What the aliens did not understand was how much their civilization had come to depend on human workers and human ideas. Over 20 years, humans had quietly become essential to the smooth operation of galactic society. Human engineers maintained critical systems on hundreds of worlds. Human diplomats solved disputes between species that had been enemies for centuries. Human scientists found solutions to problems that had puzzled alien minds for generations. The first systems began failing on Zenthari Prime, the massive city-sized machines that controlled the planets. Weather had been running perfectly for 50 years under human maintenance. Now, without human engineers to perform regular updates, the ancient systems started breaking down. Storms raged across continents that had enjoyed perfect weather for decades. On the mining world of Keck 7, the extraction equipment ground to a halt. Human technicians had improved the efficiency of the mining operations by 300%, using clever modifications that the Keck 7 aliens never bothered to understand. Now the modifications were failing and nobody knew how to fix them. Production dropped to levels not seen since before human contact. The Vorthak trading empire discovered that their most profitable routes had been planned and managed by human logistics, experts without human coordination. Cargo ships arrived at the wrong planets at the wrong times, carrying goods that nobody wanted. The economic losses mounted daily as the empire struggled to maintain trade without human assistance. Ambassador Krell watched his civilization crumble from his office in the assembly station. The Xanthari Empire had been one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy for 10,000 years. Now they could not even maintain basic services without human help. Reports flooded in from across Xanthari space: power failures, transportation breakdowns, communication blackouts. The same problems plagued every major civilization in the galaxy. The Vextar Confederacy found their military computers failing without human programmers to update the code. The Silneth Republic discovered their agricultural systems could not function without human biotechnology experts. The Great Assembly itself struggled to maintain order as human translators and mediators were no longer available to resolve conflicts. Captain Su Jin stood on the bridge of the TFS Indomitable, the first human warship to decloak in 3 months. The massive vessel had been built in secret using the best human engineering combined with carefully improved alien technology. Its sleek design radiated power and confidence in a way that made even veteran alien warriors nervous. The Indomitable appeared without warning on the sensors of Assembly Station Omega, the largest diplomatic facility in the Galaxy. Alien Defense Forces scrambled to respond, but their targeting systems could not lock onto the human ship. Its advanced stealth technology made it difficult to track even when it was clearly visible. The communication that followed sent shockwaves through the assembled representatives. President Dayun's voice came through the speakers, calm and controlled but carrying an authority that had never been there before. When she had spoken to the assembly as a member, her words had been dismissed and ignored. Now every being in the galaxy hung on her every word. The Galactic Assembly has demonstrated repeatedly that it views humanity as inferior and expendable. President Dayun announced to the emergency session, "We have decided to withdraw from all galactic treaties and agreements. Earth and all human colonies are now independent from Assembly authority." The words hit the alien representatives like a physical blow. Independence was not something the Assembly granted lightly. Most species had to earn their freedom through centuries of proving their worth. The humans had simply taken it, declaring themselves equal to civilizations that had been spacefaring when humanity was still learning to use fire. Admiral Ji-hoon chose that moment to reveal the true extent of human preparation. Across the galaxy, human warships decloaked simultaneously, appearing in orbit around every major alien world. Each ship broadcast the same message: human citizens and assets are being withdrawn. Any interference will be met with appropriate response. The aliens finally understood the scope of what had been happening. The humans had not simply vanished. They had been planning this withdrawal for years, studying alien weaknesses, mapping critical systems, identifying pressure points. Every major trade route could be disrupted. Every important facility had been infiltrated. Every alien military installation had been quietly observed and analyzed. Captain Dong Min commanded the human fleet that appeared over the Vextar homeworld. His ships were outnumbered 50-1, but the Vextar commanders made no move to attack. The human vessels were unknown designs that radiated menace despite their smaller size. The aliens had learned to fear what they did not understand. The human ships began extracting their people from alien worlds with military precision. Transport vessels landed at human facilities, collected personnel and equipment, then departed before alien authorities could respond. The operations were so smooth and efficient that many aliens did not realize what was happening until it was too late. Dr. So Young supervised the withdrawal of human scientists from research stations across the galaxy. Each team took with them not only their own work, but also critical knowledge about alien systems that had been operating under human guidance. Without this knowledge, the aliens would find themselves unable to maintain their own technology. The message was clear to every alien. Government humanity was no longer asking for permission or acceptance. They were informing the galaxy of decisions that had already been made. The species that had been treated as junior partners was now demonstrating that they had never needed alien guidance in the first place. President Dayun ended her broadcast with words that would be remembered for generations to come. The Terran Federation extends an offer of friendship and cooperation to all species willing to treat humanity as equals. We will no longer accept the role of subordinates in our own galaxy. The balance of power had shifted in a single day. The aliens who had ruled the stars for eons found themselves facing a new reality. Humanity was no longer a client species, to be managed and controlled. They were now an independent force that demanded respect and offered partnership only on equal terms. The galaxy would never be the same. 6 months after Earth vanished from galactic sensors, the universe had become a very different place. The great civilizations that had ruled for millions of years struggled to maintain basic functions without human assistance. Trade networks collapsed as alien species discovered they could not match human efficiency. Wars erupted between species that had been kept peaceful by human diplomats. The Assembly found itself managing crisis after crisis without their human problem solvers. President Dayun stood in the new Terran Federation capital built in orbit around Earth. The massive space station was a marvel of human engineering enhanced by 20 years of accumulated alien knowledge, but improved by human creativity and innovation. The design was uniquely human, practical, efficient, and beautiful in its simplicity. The Terran Federation had united all human colonies under a single government based on principles the Assembly had never understood: mutual respect, voluntary cooperation, equal treatment for all member worlds. The government operated by consent rather than force, by cooperation rather than domination. These concepts seemed revolutionary to aliens who had known only hierarchy and control. Admiral Ji-hoon's fleets patrolled the borders of human space, ensuring no alien force could threaten their independence. The ships were marvels of hybrid technology, combining the best alien science with human military doctrine. The result was a fleet that could outfight any alien navy despite being vastly outnumbered. The first alien delegation to request formal relations with the Terran Federation arrived on a Xanthari diplomatic vessel. The ship approached Earth space slowly, broadcasting messages of peaceful intent every few seconds. The Xanthari, who had once dictated terms to humanity, now came as supplicants seeking trade agreements and mutual defense pacts. Ambassador Hyun-woo received the delegation in the Federation orbital station. His position had changed dramatically, from the days when he sat in assembly meetings being lectured about human shortcomings. Now he represented humanity from a position of strength. The aliens who had once ignored his words now hung on every syllable. The lead Xanthari delegate was Ambassador Thelvor, a being who had served in the Assembly for 2 centuries. He had been present during the early human contact periods, when Earth was first discovered. His attitude toward humans had changed completely over the past months. Honorable Ambassador Hyun-woo Thelvor began, his voice carrying none of the condescension that had once marked alien speech to humans. The Xanthari Empire seeks to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Terran Federation. We wish to discuss trade, agreements, defense cooperation, and cultural exchange. Hyun-woo listened carefully before responding. The Terran Federation is always willing to discuss cooperation with species that approach us as equals. We have no interest in superiority or domination, only in mutual benefit and respect. The negotiations that followed established a new model for galactic relations. The Terran Federation offered advanced technology and expertise in exchange for resources and knowledge, but always as equal partners. The days of humanity accepting scraps from alien tables were over. Dr. So-young had become the most celebrated scientist in human space. Her innovations had sparked a renaissance of human technology, free from alien restrictions and guidelines. Human researchers pushed the boundaries of physics, engineering, and biology. What they created often surpassed the achievements of civilizations that had been spacefaring for millions of years. The secret of human success was not superior intelligence or advanced technology. It was their approach to problems. While aliens relied on ancient knowledge and traditional solutions, humans combined different ideas in creative ways. They took risks, experimented with new concepts, and learned from failure, rather than avoiding it. The silence protocol had been only the beginning. Dr. So-young and her teams developed faster-than-light communication systems that worked across galactic distances, energy sources that could power entire worlds from devices The size of buildings' medical technology that could extend life and enhance physical abilities far beyond what any species had achieved. Captain Su Jin commanded the exploration fleets that ventured beyond the edges of known space. While alien civilizations had been content to rule their established territories, humans pushed into the unknown, discovering new worlds, new resources, new possibilities. The galaxy was much larger than anyone had imagined, and humans intended to explore every corner of it. The impact on alien civilizations varied greatly. Some species like the Xanthari adapted quickly to the new reality. They established trade relationships with the Federation and began adopting human methods of problem-solving. There, societies became more dynamic and innovative as they learned from human examples. Other species struggled with the change. The Vex-Tar Confederacy refused to acknowledge human equality and continued to demand subordination. Their economy collapsed. As human expertise became unavailable, their military weakened as they failed to adapt to new realities. Within 5 years, the once mighty Confederacy had broken apart into dozens of smaller competing factions. The assembly itself underwent massive changes. The old system of species ranking and hierarchical control could not survive in a galaxy where humans had proven that primitive species could become equals overnight. New voting procedures were established, giving smaller species more voice. In galactic affairs, the assembly became more democratic, more responsive to member needs. President Da-Yun addressed the Federation citizens on the first anniversary of independence. The past year had proven that humanity could not only survive outside assembly control but thrive. The Terran Federation had become a beacon of hope for other species seeking freedom from the old hierarchies. "We have shown the galaxy what independence looks like," Da-Un declared from the Federation capital. "What cooperation between equals can achieve. What happens when species are judged by their actions rather than their origins? The universe is wide enough for all of us to prosper together." The transformation was complete. The species that had been dismissed as primitive children had become leaders in galactic civilization. Human colonies spread across the galaxy, offering new opportunities for trade cooperation and exploration. The Federation fleet protected not only human worlds, but also smaller species that sought independence from larger empires. Earth had not just cut ties with the assembly, it had demonstrated a new way of existing in the galaxy, based on respect rather than dominance, cooperation rather than control, voluntary association rather than forced submission. The old order was changing, and humanity stood at the center of that transformation. The galaxy had learned to respect the small blue planet and its remarkable inhabitants. The Terran Federation had become the hope of free species everywhere, proof that any civilization could rise to greatness if given the chance to prove their worth. Humanity had claimed their place among the stars, not as subjects or clients, but as equals, ready to help build a better future for all.